Hi everyone, welcome to my setting, fellow fans of the written word. Whew, things are heating up. Let's do a quick recap. As quick as we can manage, of course. Some of these chapters were long.
Let's start right out. Hey, what happened?
First, we have Perrin seeing a vision and spying on Lanfear and Balsamon, Hopper, the wolf that perished in the previous book, who is acting as his guide, I suppose, is teaching him how to access and use this world of dreams to his advantage. Um, and right now, something that doesn't escape Perrin is that Lanfear is a Forsaken. She was in his dreams before, and that she's some kind of, I suppose, a dissident. She does not directly cooperate with the Balsamon and his lackeys. She claims to have a dominion on the world of dreams, and that Balsamon is merely using it. And Balsamon is, I guess, he's saying that she forgets herself and forgets her place, that sort of thing. So Balsamon doesn't want to fight with Lanfear anymore, and he gathers his forces to kill our heroes, or at least capture them. And he is furious that Matt has left Tarvalon, and he wants the rest of our groups, girls as well, Nynaeve and Egwene, to be captured. So the Grey Men are trying to pursue everyone as well. Now back to Matt. Matt receives a bag of fireworks in a very funny, amusing situation, let's put it that way. So they are in the city, and they are trying to find a place to rest. And apparently there is this famine that fell upon the city. The prices are ridiculous. He barely manages to convince the innkeeper to sleep in a stable. He also buys his horses by betting against himself. And well, on himself, but by giving I guess, beneficial odds to his opponent, the innkeeper. And the way he receives the fireworks is from a girl, Alundra. Alundra is an illuminator. I guess she is this world's type of, I don't know if I mentioned this before, something like an alchemist, a scientist that mainly produces fireworks and gunpowder. Well, guns are not still a thing, but fireworks. And she's pursued by her former colleagues. I suppose she's a scapegoat for something that happened, and her guild her. And when she tried to make a living using her skills and knowledge, they were unhappy with that. So they sent a bunch of ruffians after her, and Tavir will Tavir, I guess, and she wanders into this very specific barn where Matt and Tom were trying to get some rest. Matt doesn't think much, if at all, and springs to action, and he defeats the said ruffians. The girl is called Alundra, and she is super grateful, but she doesn't have the money to repay them, so she insists on giving them one of her wares. So they are once again forced to leave the place they just bought and run away. I see a running theme here. So many times something like this has happened. Our heroes buy rooms or lodging, and something happens and they are forced to just run away into the night or in the rain. What do we have next? Faile, her name, the hunter. She becomes the part of the party, a member of the party. She swears an oath of some kind, a kind of to Moraine, and she learns that Perrin is a Taviran. A group of grey men ambush Perrin. They try to kill him, 5 or 6 of them, and this was super intense. Also, we have creatures, dark hounds, pursuing them. I believe Matt saw a footprint not too long ago on the ground. And Darkhound is a guardian of Lord Brand, who is apparently actually a dude named Samael, who took over Ilion earlier that year. So his presence is apparently so negative that the Ogier who live nearby just pack up and leave. Which, you know, if I were a person living then, in those times, in this world, if I heard that someone made Ogier angry or just annoyed enough to leave, I would put that person on my shit list. What do we have next? Moraine goes off to check if the source of evil here really is what she thinks she is, and Perrin tries to assist her in a way. He tries to consult the dream world with Hopper's help. He also sees a vision of Calendar, the magical sword. Something that caught my eye was Hopper the wolf tells Perrin that something called the Last Hunt is coming. And he also confirms that, well, all of the previously dead wolves reside in the dream world, just as heroes of the Horn. So, cool stuff. Now back to Matt. Matt, he overhears the plot to kill Elaine and the girls, so he sets off to rescue, which is quite noble of him. I wouldn't say noble, they are his friends, at least Nynaeve and Egwene are. Perrin also mentions that, well, he reveals more information. At first, he only revealed that to Faile that he is a Taviran. Then he reveals that Rand is a Dragonborn, and they are pursued by dark hounds. And Moraine uses balefire, something that the girls also use. Something very major happens with the girls. So the girls are traveling. Something major happens with the girls. The girls, they encounter a bunch of spear sisters, the Aiel spear women, and one of them is seriously injured, and Nynaeve naturally helps her, cures her using, well, one power. And we see a parallel here, just as we did with Perrin, where the one that was cured says that she owes a blood debt, a life debt to her. So, and then they went on separate ways, but not before they exchanged a bunch of, I guess, cultural knowledge between them. We learn that how their society works. People outside of Aiel Wastes think that these spear sisters do not marry or have children, which is not true. If some of them has a child, it is raised anonymously without knowing its parentage. And they also actually strive to have children. They want to have children because they all heard the prophecy that one of their own will be a product of their culture, and other culture, I guess outside culture, will be the one, as we know, Dragon Reborn. So most likely we find out that Rand's mother was an Aiel woman warrior. And the girls go on, but they're captured. They're captured by, I wasn't too sure, were they slavers? I don't think they were brigands, but they were a group of people who tried to sell them, and sell them they do attempt to 3 murdrolls. Yes. They also knock them out. Funnily enough, this is a very cool naive moment because so they all receive pretty nasty head injuries, but the worst of them was Elaine, because she had a misfortune to wake up in the middle of when she was supposed to be out, and when the other girls were unconscious, and so she received another strike to the head. So she literally had her skull split open, and Egwene and Nynaeve wake up, and Nynaeve have this observation. She's like, "Hold on, I'm not feeling like I want to die. What's up with that?" And apparently the would-be captors gave them a medicine that is specifically used to cure headaches. So yeah, they knocked them out, but they also made sure that when the girls wake up, they'd be pretty much more or less able to think clearly, not with a headache. So Nynaeve gets really mad, heals Elaine, and then at the same moment she also hears a bunch of Aiel people barge in and start to just lay waste to the whole villain lair. And at the same moment the girls activate their badassery as well, and they just sweep the floor with the 3 murdrolls, and it was an overkill. So yeah, that was cool. That was pretty major. Now back to questions. I have this question about balefire. So balefire, is it only a magical thing, or it can be made by, well, artificially, like an alchemist's fire or something? Or is it just a name for these awesome fireballs? Minor question. Question number 2. So Rand displays this fire sword. This is something I forgot to mention. So in the brief section where Rand is shown, he decapitates a woman, which I assume for his own good was a dark friend. And in the brief mentions when we spend some time with Rand, he has this fire sword, like a summoned fire sword. What's up with that? Is that a thing? Did he improvise that? What's that? The section with him decapitating that woman was so brief that how did he know that she was an enemy? I digress. Also, what's the deal with the tree of life? What is that? So, it cannot give seed. It's very important. Is it important symbolically? Probably not. What is it? I don't want to spoil myself with just diving into Wiki. This is probably a question that has been asked in the fandom, I suppose. But I've got to ask, is Nynaeve a ta'veren? Because I don't know. She kind of is giving some ta'veren vibes for me. I think there are a lot of factors that point out to that, because we know that ta'veren are like a magnet for shenanigans. They push people away, and in the same time they attract certain type of people the same way. So it just a happenstance that Nynaeve, a very capable wisdom and a healer and a Sedai, encountered these spear women from the alien wastes in the middle of nowhere, managed to help them out, then was captured, and then this group of people who were indebted to her just hours ago descended upon their assailants. And I think there are several some encounters in the past two books that could be, I think, pointed out. So is she ta'veren? I mean, I know that it would be silly to claim that there are so many ta'veren, 4 ta'veren in the same village. I mean, the fact that there's 3 is pointed out repeatedly, that 3 ta'veren growing up at the same time in the same village, that's already 1 in a billion chance. But maybe? What else? I guess this is more of a practical question. What kind of technology level do they have in their world? Because we have the invention of gunpowder, because, well, fireworks cannot function without firepower. Without powder. Gunpowder. Well, but there are no guns. So I assume that these illuminators, the guild that is responsible for the distribution and manufacture of gunpowder, strictly for fireworks. So guns are not invented yet. Okay, then we have the fact that there are so many books around, which is a good thing. I like that. I mean, even people in isolated villages such as Two Rivers, we know through Rand and through Perrin and through others that they are reasonably well read, that everyone has a copy of Journeys of this and that hero. So it goes without saying that even when they stop by in the inn, oftentimes they will have a bookshelf. So it's not unreasonable to think and conclude that there is a printing press. So that's another fact. And then we have things like very exquisite craftsmanship, which I guess I'm leaning more towards, is this like Renaissance era ish that is marching somewhat maybe towards industrialization, but there's no steam, no coal and stuff. So this is like a Renaissance era that kind of froze. Am I any close? Did Robert Jordan ever confirm this or deny? I mean, it's definitely nothing even remotely close to Middle Ages. Not even close. Um, but yeah, this is, I guess, a question for theory crafting and such. Huh. Well, one last question. What the hell is going on with Rand's wound? What about that? It still reopening? Is it gonna be like that until the final battle? Because of course there will be a final battle. There was a battle in the previous book, and all signs point out to a final battle. On to the things that I liked. Hopper. Hopper is a good boy, and he will live and frolic forever in the dream world. And now I'm feeling better about all those wolf doggies dying in the first book, which is yay. I really, really like the section where Nynaeve and Egwene just were melting faces of people who kidnapped them. I mean, no kill like overkill, right? Them dispatching that group like it was nothing was just mwah. Uh, Alundra, new character, the Illuminator that Matt saves. I don't know if she'll stick around or be any kind of prominent character. I don't think she needs to. It would be nice. She is described as somewhat older, but she's like this mad, vaguely mad scientist figure. The way her enthusiasm and the way she describes the inflammatory properties of and explosive properties of fireworks she gave to Matt. That was fun to read. And Matt is improving a lot. To quote Tom, he is young and not as bad as he thinks. Now, I don't know if Matt thinks that he's bad because I still think and still do um, hold opinion that he does not and did not acknowledge the way he behaved and the selfishness he, well, demonstrates during these three books. But it is a step into a right direction. I mean, he even hands her off some money because he thinks that she didn't eat in days and she surely won't sell these fireworks for any kind of money because the city is starving, people are eating horses. Who's gonna buy a firework, right? So yeah, go Matt. I hope he continues on that road. Also, just a general appreciation for Moraine. After, I guess, encountering many other Aes Sedai and the way they hold themselves, it's not that I disliked her in previous books. I liked her as a figure. She was this imposing Aes Sedai figure, but there are more bits and pieces about her as a character. And the more I read about her, the more it seems to me that she's a true Aes Sedai, an Aes Sedai ideal. She's like a real soldier for the cause. She preaches and practices what she preaches. So she's always marching, always towards the goal, the defeat of the Dark One, to hold the forces of the Dark at bay. Moraine is a trooper. So yeah, another thing, the spearwomen of Faile are cool. Um, I like their whole exchange and their fight moves also. And back to Moraine a bit and Lan, their whole low-key bickering about um, Lan going to the, I guess, was it a green Aes Sedai that's supposed to take him in if something happens to Moraine. That's fun. Um, things I didn't like. There are three things that I didn't like. Two are pretty, I'd say, just general book related, not specifically so much about these chapters. And one is more specific. So let's start with plot conveniences. So I made a case for Nynaeve being a Taviran. If she is, I think this would resolve a lot of just plot convenience problems. But then again, if you go on that road, you would want to make every character Taviran, because Taviran might as well be the curse of the main character, the plot bending around the main character and demanding them to do this or that for, narrative purpose. Which it is in a way brilliant that Robert Jordan decided to take this notion that a story wants to tell itself. The story wants to come out. And whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. And it is also a way to kind of get out of the jail for free card when it comes to Deus Ex Machina, because this is a series just built on that entire premise. There are things happening because they're supposed to happen or because the wheel weaves it, and that's okay, that's fine. But we are repeatedly told that the source of that are pretty much Taviran. And some of the things that happen here just align too much for my taste, I think. Like when the girls were captured. So, Aiel warriors intervene at exact same moment when the girls break their chains. This is maybe that's just me. Complaint number 2. Too many vision sequences, dream sequences, prophecies, and such. I am aware that these visions and sections where these very dense things are being conveyed to the reader are important. And I'm sure 100%, because I'm a Dune fan. Dune is my favorite series, yes, series, not counting his son's work. Series ever. And it's super dense, and it really does reward repeated readings, because there are plans within plans within plans, things click. It also deals with omniscience, so the reader knows that things are supposed to happen, but why do they happen? How the minutiae of character going from point A to point B happens. We know that he is on point A and his goal is on point B, but will the road zigzag? Will it be a straight line? That's what's interesting, right? And here I can see that this will flow much better on repeated viewings, but sometimes these interruptions with visions and dreams kind of kill the flow, the pacing. This is probably, I think that true fans, fans who are much more familiar with Wheel of Time and reread it many times, probably don't see this as a negative. I see it a bit of a negative, but let's just move on. Um, my last complaint is not so much as a complaint, just a concern, if you can call it that. I'm concerned about Faile as a character. Um, when she was introduced, I liked her on general. Oh, hey, a new plucky character that, well, will eventually end up probably. All signs point to apparent love interest. But these last few chapters, her personality, I think, was just a bit too loud, if that makes sense. She was just a bit too much. Like she's compensating for something, for her age, something else. I don't know. But please don't. Please, Robert Jordan, even though you already wrote this book. No. What I'm saying is, if anyone's familiar with the term scrappy, it's like when you have a group of characters that has a great chemistry, and this group of character has already kind of established roles within the group and they all work well. And then sometimes an author will introduce a new character that just doesn't gel or clashes too much with the vibe the group has. And it kind of ruins the dynamic that the group had in the past. So I hope she doesn't become the scrappy. Predictions.
Well, it's only a guess, but it's all I have to go on.
On to predictions. Who? Well, one obvious one. In one of her dreams, visions, Egwene saw white cloaks pillaging two rivers. And this was something that was mentioned and planned in the prologue. So I don't know if this will happen during this book, but I do think that plans were set in motion. And we will see that, or at least an attempt to do that. Will our heroes march back and defend two rivers? That remains to be seen. But I do think it will happen eventually. Prediction number two. Liandrin. I think that she will capture the girls. And I do think that the situation will flip a bit compared to the previous climaxes of books. In previous times, the girls would go and save Rand or heal him. I think here they are the ones who need help, and which is why Matt is intent on saving them. So yeah, that's my prediction. And prediction number three, more braid tugging, of course, always. I mean, parents should just grow out a beard, braid it, and just tug on it when he's thinking his parent thoughts. So, thanks for watching and see you next time.